So as you know, Big Boss, this is a recording that I told you that you can take home. Go through it in your own time, just practice for the real thing. Pretend that you're actually there, pretend that you're actually at court. But be wary though, in hearing this tape there will be some spoilers. So, let's get started. It's 5 p.m. and I am joined by the legend himself, the renowned hero known as Big Boss. He has been warranted to stand trial for many accusations which could affect his life in the future. So, he's come my way for moral support and fixing up any loose ends that need to be dealt with as soon as possible. So, let's get into it, shall we? So, Big Boss, or shall I call you Jack or Snake?
On the battlefield, after a week, you have no name.
Okay, so interview purposes, I need to be able to call you something.
Just stick with Big Boss. That's fine with me.
Okay, so I can do that. I have known Big Boss for some time now, and
Sorry to interrupt, but before we get started, may I smoke? They basically strip searched me on the way in here. Not even my nanomachines couldn't help with that.
Sure. Try this. It's Cuban.
Wow, this brings back a lot of memories.
And that's why we're here, Big Boss. Okay, so let's start this over, as from before.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's get this over with.
All in due time. We have a lot to discuss in such little time.
Nah. Where do we even begin? Such a long time ago, too.
From the start, of course. It is always a good place. Where it all happened. Where you pulled the trigger. When you received the title of Big Boss.
That's when life really turned itself around.
So, let's get started, shall we? From the top. Since you called upon me, you asked me for psychological advice and maybe even some legal advice. Why say that you needed my help?
Yeah, I needed someone that I could rely on. Someone who knows what he's talking about, especially when at this type of battlefield. I've never been on this sort of thing. I'm not good with this kind of thing.
So, for this purpose, I asked that we record this for practices for the real trial. This is okay with you?
It's fine. I need every help I can get.
Then, without further ado, let's continue with this interview.
Gladly.
With this part of the interview, I have to go through the confidential part of things. So whatever it says in this room stays in this room. All information will be confidential. This can't even be used for purposes of justice of the law unless, quote, you somehow break the law or attempt suicide. I will start. So once again, you're in the presidential office from where we left off from last time. You were saying in our previous conversations that you just finished your virtuous mission of Snake Eater. You faced the president at the time, Lyndon Johnson. Then you received the title of Big Boss. From that moment on, things started to change. You felt conflicted. These were your own words coming from you last time we talked. So, from previous discussions, from how does this make you feel when we relive this in your mind?
It was more of a burden than anything else. I didn't feel like I achieved anything.
You say a burden. Explain. Why after receiving such a grand title of legendary hero, defeating the boss, who is renowned as the mother of special forces, who also defected and became your enemy, you didn't see this as an achievement?
She was my mentor. She was basically my mother. At least I looked up to her in that way. To be ordered to pull the trigger, to a mother figure was the hardest thing I think anyone could ever do.
Must have been very difficult for you to pull that trigger.
On the battlefield, nothing is difficult. It's all about the mission.
So, when you were given the task of defeating the boss, or shall I call her the Joy, did you feel despair instead of betrayal?
Oh, I felt betrayed. Don't worry about that. It was a massive shock to the system. Even Major Zero was shocked. He played a good part in this too.
We will get back to Zero, because he played a big part into you becoming who you are now.
It's not every day that your friend clones you, for fear of losing you, as weird as that sounds.
Okay, so back to the boss. As I said, we'll get back to Zero, but we need to close the door of you losing your mentor. So explain, in your own words, what happened in the presidential room?
I sold the world.
So when you say that, what do you mean by that?
So it means that I went into the other direction. I didn't go under any flag, so I became a nation without borders, and people followed. I wanted to watch the US government suffer for their wrongdoings to me and others.
So, you believe the US government is at fault for your supposed crimes?
They certainly helped with that.
It is said that you became too loose for your faith of humanity, that you basically, as you said, sold the world when the boss defected.
I certainly didn't expect her to defect. It was very sudden. But people change along with the times.
Do you believe in these accusations they have against you?
I have certainly made mistakes. It's not the first time someone's betrayed their country for the good of the mission.
Do you believe Zero had a good influence on your life negatively?
He was a great ally who lusted for power towards the end. He was the source of it all.
So, you decided that you needed to punish them, so to speak? In a sense, they all wronged you so badly that you needed to express with bullets? Or even a walking battle tank?
That and more.
In your mind, do you think it was a bit extreme?
I guess in a way, I felt like I was just a puppet for the government. If I continued working for them, they would have abused me for sure. But until they got rid of me, of course.
So, there's other information that needs to be addressed, Big Boss. Information that hasn't been utilized.
Yeah.
Out of heaven. Why? What did this achieve?
It was the boss's dying wish. She saw it as a heaven for soldiers from all around the world to live in peace without being controlled by politicians and countries. No rules, just her own ideal. It was the boss's dying wish. She saw it as a heaven for soldiers from around the world to live in peace without being controlled by politicians and countries. No rules, just our own ideals.
Did you know that they labeled you as a terrorist?
Yeah. At the time it didn't bother me because I was acting blindly. I was acting because I thought it was the boss's wishes, her last breath. It made me wonder if there was anyone that had such a heart like hers, but even she let me down.
Actually, funny enough, that was my next question. How did she let you down?
She put her gun down. It made me realize that she even went back on her own words. Her teachings meant nothing.
So that's when you took off the bandana.
It reminded me of her.
So this made you more angry?
No. It made me go a different path. As I wanted to achieve her dream, I made it my own. I made my own out of heaven. Foxhound.
Speaking of heaven, was out of heaven something that you were proud of?
Proud of? It was my mentor's dying wish. A woman everyone looked up to as a mother of the battlefield. But Out of Heaven became twisted and turned out to be just like the US government was becoming.
And they were planning to use you as a puppet?
Ocelot invited me to join Out of Heaven as a main face, an idol to represent Out of Heaven, because I knew the boss personally. But as I said, it became twisted.
Would you mind expressing how, for the purpose of the interview?
I left for very political reasons, and also personal. Zero was conducting experiments.
Let me guess. Les Enfants Terribles.
Yeah, the very same. That's when it all started. My sons. They all called the Sons of the Big Boss.
That's quite insane.
It happens when you lust for power. Ask Major Zero.
Given the circumstances, do you forgive Zero?
There was always a big tension between us. But I think, just like me, he was manipulated by the system. But he made some pretty bad choices.
What choices in your mind was wrong?
Well, creating the Patriots was one of them. No one gets away with acting like God for too long. Even I learned that the hard way.
So just to recap, you felt remorse when you defeated the boss, and hatred for Zero. When you feel this, were you left out for how do you feel about this?
I'm really sad, actually. I dropped the idea of what the boss meant until it was too late. Until I realized her true meaning. Even now I can't express it.
With saying this, what happened after you left the Patriots?
I basically went to war against Zero.
So what happened to Out of Heaven when it was created? Taken over by Zero?
Correct. He did take over, eventually my base, Diamond Dogs. I was in hiding at the time, so my body double helped me out.
How many clones do you have?
There was a few fails. Only 3 sons to consider. Venom was my best friend and my body double.
So moving on, what happened to Venom?
We were very close friends. He even wanted to help me conduct missions and help me with my plans for the future.
Explain these plans.
I decided after a while I needed to go back to Foxhound, which was what I founded about a decade ago at the time. I resumed commanding officer. Meanwhile, Venom was supporting me with creating yet another Out of Heaven.
Wait, another Out of Heaven?
It was for safekeeping. I needed something against my enemies.
So when did this come to light?
It was something I needed. But unfortunately my son, David, defeated Venom and defeated Metal Gear.
Solid Snake, I remember correctly.
Correct. Precisely. That's right.
And then, this is when the government pronounced you dead?
As I said before, I'm already dead.
What made you say such a thing, anyways?
I lost part of me when the boss died.
Do you still grieve for your loss?
This wasn't a loss. This whole thing was a setup from the beginning.
When you discuss with another question, does this mean you felt a lot of hatred for the US government?
I sold the world.
So in this story, there was a lot of betrayal and scheming. How can you trust anyone?
You don't. You just learn the hard way. Trial and error.
Fair enough. But this doesn't explain why you made another mother base.
We had our deterrents. We had a score to settle. Giving myself a bad name while I was at it.
So, what happened to this new Out of Heaven?
David destroyed it.
Why did he end up going against you?
While he joined Foxhound, he also worked for the US after he was in the Green Berets, which basically meant this Out of Heaven was a threat to him too. So Solid Snake naturally took orders as you do a soldier and completed his mission.
You have been dead for some time. What happened?
I never actually died. I was in another coma.
And that's when you met Major Zero? Ah, damn it. I have to take this. I'm sorry, Big Boss.
Hey! No phones in this room.
Think of it as a place I like to call my outer heaven. No rules or control. I like that. Sorry, I need to actually take this. Sorry, Big Boss. I won't be long. It's okay. A little beauty sleep never hurts anyone anyways. Hello. Yes, this is he. Yes, he is here. Why? No, I can't do that. What do you mean? That's unethical. I can't understand. And that will definitely cost me my job. Okay, fine. Okay, I'll... hangs up. Who was that? Never mind. No one important. But unfortunately, we have to cut this interview short. But, as always, it was good to see you again. How about next week, same time? We need to get beyond this. Sounds like a plan. Like always, old friend. It's good to see you. Okay, so between now and our next session, I want you to practice what we have discussed earlier in our conversations. It will help you open up. I know it's hard to bring her up. Yeah. It's not that. I do feel like it's time to move on. It's been a pleasure, Big Boss. See you later.